everyone. This is Ben Woshinski here for the USTA Association. I am so excited here. We are down to the last few matches in the 2018 USTA Open. Right now, tonight, we have the match between SultanPepper and Jooms. This is more or less about a quarterfinal match in the losers bracket of our double elimination tournament. And let's real quick go over to the bracket just to get a quick update and look at where things currently stand. Earlier today, we had the match between No Hat Coder and Fwibib, which No Hat Coder took 2 games, both games out of that match, and you can see No Hat Coder is into the grand final of the entire tournament. So now we are just left with the last few matches in the losers bracket here. We are down to this match, SultanPepper versus Jooms. Both these players are very skilled. This should be a very good game. SultanPepper is the defending champion from the 2016 USTA Open, and Jooms is a relative newcomer compared to some players, but he's been putting up quite a solid showing in the matches he's played so far. So the winner of the match tonight will then go on to face Archvenison, and the winner of that match will face Fwibib, and the winner of that match will then face No Hat Coder in the grand final. So only a few matches left in the tournament, and we'll wrap things up and award the prizes to the top 3 finishers. I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, Wormwood Gaming, for supplying one of those beautiful Purple Heart tack box sets for our first prize. And of course, also a big thank you to Andrew Cookson, who was kind enough to supply the prizes, beautiful leather hand-tooled boards that you might have seen in the intro slideshow there. Those go to the second and third place finishers. So I believe SultanPepper and Jooms, I believe they are ready to go. So let me bring up the game board and we will get these players started. Looks like SultanPepper is going to be taking white first. Giving them the go. All right. And we will get this match started. These games are played on the 6x6 size board, as you can see. And each player gets 10 minutes and then get a bonus of 20 seconds for each move that they make. All right, so very standard opening, adjacent corners, split down the middle. But then we see Sultan deviating slightly. We've seen a lot of this where these 4 squares would be taken up the center. Sultan deviates, goes over here on E2. Jooms, pretty standard, puts his capstone over on this side where white is to make sure he can cut off any roads being built there. Sultan has wrapped his road around the top end here, so he's starting to build for some horizontal play. Jooms also looks like he's beginning to take a little bit of it. He does that same kind of wrap around the middle. With his capstone here, he definitely has a shot at doing some horizontal work there. With the horizontal, Sultan goes on B5. Jooms responds on E5. Just both players, well, I should say Sultan is definitely leading as far as kind of attacking and a little bit of an aggression with controlling the direction of the game, but Jooms doing a good job of replying in kind, keeping the board looking pretty balanced right now. I don't see any huge advantage either way. Sultan taking a minute to think. He might be looking for capstone placement here. Oftentimes you'll see it come over onto one of these 2 squares, but he could save it a little bit longer at this point because there's no dire need for it as of yet. Sultan seems to be getting a good long think in here for this early in the game. All right, and so he's decided A5. He's continuing his horizontal build. He may have been trying to calculate out a sequence there. And E4 from Jooms, so he's got plenty of pieces to work with anywhere in this whole central area. Okay, an F5. So it's possible Sultan is thinking about trying to make something of this horizontal threat. There's there is a tiny bit of weakness there. So, like, say if Sultan brought in a capstone, I'd hate to see him put it on an edge, but somewhere over here he could try to bring a capstone and do something tricky. In the match earlier today, we saw No Hat Coder bring his capstone in. He brought it in the typical central area here, but then he jumped it on top of one of his own flat stones, and giving that what we call a hard cap, meaning that it has its own piece underneath. So when spread even onto a wall, and there they go, look at that, Sultan is bringing his capstone onto the edge. But yes, the advantage of a hard cap is that if there's a wall that you need to smash, you're still maintaining control of the stack you leave behind. And that can be that's really powerful. If one of the players is trying to throw a lot of walls down, that is a pretty good counter. It's just something that it takes one extra tempo to sacrifice basically that move of onto your own piece. You're not gaining control of any new area, and you're not getting any new pieces onto the board. Speaking of pieces on the board, players are about dead even here. Sultan's got just looks like he's got 9 out on the board, including his capstone, and Jooms he has 2 left here, so it looks like he has 8. But it is his turn, so he could equalize that. So Jooms apparently doing a little evaluation here. This capstone is not in a great place, and I feel like Jooms could just counter even with a flat, like over in this area. He could put a wall as well, say a wall on B4 there, just something to real easily hop up onto this horizontal threat if need be. Even a flat here would be enough to kind of tangle up that horizontal road. Jooms taking his time, though, not jumping into this like I get to, as merely giving commentary. All right, F4. Okay, so he's going for the other end here, taking out this F5 piece is pretty in a pretty weak position as it is currently. So now let's see, what is Sultan wanting to do here? Sultan's got a good setup of pieces. He's got a lot of connection here. And then he has these 2 diagonal ones that they are not connected. But the problem is he's really got this horizontal threat he's working on currently. Okay, so he captures over to E6. So obviously the threat now is to capture down, completing the road. I presume Jooms is just going to capture up onto that piece. Yeah, I still like attacking this other end better. It's farther from the capstone. Capturing upward on here, I would guess, is just going to be met by Sultan throwing a flat up on F6 here. So he's basically threatening to bring the road this direction instead. So Jooms does go through with that. It's certainly not a problem or a bad move. But yes, there's the flat on F6. So, man, I think at this point it does end up with Jooms probably capturing up here. He still gets forced to deal with this other end of the board. Oh, nope, I'm wrong. He goes with the wall on D6. Kind of wondering if we're just going to see F6 come down. Could also see a flat here on c6, basically pinning this wall so that it can't jump downward. If Jooms can hold this off, he is pretty well positioned as far as like central control goes. So yeah, as long as he can really put an end to this horizontal threat and try to get a threat of his own started, I think he can do just fine. I'm kind of been looking at d2 upward as a pretty good start for Jooms to go on the attack. Okay, so Sultan goes for f4, so I assume he's targeting the f5 stack. Maybe thinking he'll let Jooms capture down onto here. Both players taking a good amount of time to think. Let's see, we're up to move 13, so Sultan's about 9.5. Jooms also just coming to about the 9.5 mark. Jooms taking quite a while to think, and he does bring that wall down. I guess I say quite a while. It was, about a minute. And so he's still at 9 minutes 30 seconds or so. So now Sultan. He can capture that stack pretty easily still. But he, with the wall coming in here, I mean, if he has something tricky up his sleeve, he can definitely keep hammering on this horizontal threat. But if there's not a good continuation for him, if some sequence of moves that results in more control up there, he could just kind of be using up his tempo. Okay, and that's kind of the thing the point I was getting to. So Sultan goes on d1. Basically, starting to think that maybe his threats up in this corner are beginning to lose their strength. That he's not making a specific concrete attack threat, and so he probably wants to think about developing some other parts of the board to make sure Jooms just doesn't have free reign. All right, and Jooms goes on b2. This is a point where I was thinking that Jooms needs to take advantage of getting kind of a little bit of a break from some threats and some threatening positioning from Sultan there. If Jooms can get this upward d2 up capture, I think that could be a very good start. Actually, interestingly, he could also, this would be a little bit more risky because you're leaving all of the Sultan's pieces. He could do c4 to the right. I think that could be an interesting start also. Really overloading this d3 square. So Sultan now using quite a bit of time. He's down below 8 minutes. All right, and he goes with the e2 to the left capture. That it's kind of running into. I mean, that would have been close to a threat, but not for this wall from Jooms there. So that helps for sure as far as preventing. Let's rotate a little bit. We're starting to get some stacks at the bottom edge. That definitely helps kind of slow down Jooms' advantage in the center of the board. But I don't really know where it's going. Jooms could just bring his capstone into the middle, or as I was saying, a number of other pieces. Could also just lay more flats. Yeah, it's just not a big concrete threat from Sultan at the moment. Okay, 2 from F5 downward. I find that to be interesting. It covers up the one piece of Sultan's. But, okay, wow, and Sultan pretty quickly replied, throwing his capstone down here, leaving 2 flats of Jooms free. But those are pretty cornered. They don't have anywhere to go. Maybe he must be trying to get this stack back under his control. For me, I wonder if Jooms should start working to build control up in the top left area of the board soon. Because the capstones are definitely favoring the right half of the board. So if Sultan gets control of this stack, he could use it, of course, to propel his capstone across the board. And depending on the situation, might be what he does. But he also could be looking to simply just use it for this vertical, the F file there. I guess it's Jooms' turn to do some thinking. Jooms down below 7 minutes now. Sultan back up with nearly 8. Of course, with that increment, that number can change moderately throughout, depending on who has the advantage and who's having to use their thinking time. Okay, Jooms brings his capstone in. He's trying to pull some additional influence in the center there. Make sure he is cutting off Sultan. These players are definitely taking their time, though. We might see them running into time pressure even before we hit the 30 move mark. All right, Sultan takes the stack. He had to think about that one for a while, which I'm not sure why. Clearly, he wants to be cautious. That's the only explanation I can think of. And Jooms very quickly knows he wants a wall here. I think we're going to be seeing Sultan... Does he want to go up to the top there? All right. Oh, no, he's laying a flat on F5. And Jooms builds a wall. Just... He's nearly got that capstone completely cornered. That's kind of ridiculous. That if he can make something of it, that could be very advantageous. The biggest effect that probably has will be that other than these walls, any other walls, if he does play more, will be there will just not be a counter to them, especially. All right, no, through all that, Sultan, he just plays on F2. I don't know. Is he still thinking he's going to smash? A2 for Jooms. So he is making this connection. He's got two directions, two road directions started there. Okay, B3 from Sultan. Sultan wanting to make sure he doesn't leave Jooms all alone in this lower left corner. Not totally sure where Jooms might want to go from here. He might want to start placing pieces along the top edge if he's hoping to make a vertical connection. Otherwise, oh, there we go. C6. Yeah, the point I was getting to was that otherwise, he's gonna need to build to this other edge. I mean, he's not left himself much room. F1 and 2 are the only bits of the right edge that are available. One thing I do think we have to see here from Jooms is making use of his capstone and his walls. He kind of has an interesting move. He could jump this wall on D5 up on top of this stack, leaving the flat behind to ensure a wall can't get in his way. That gives him enough range to then spread. So he could leave one of the black flats here, one black flat here, and the wall on B5. So that would then give him the reach to complete that road. Doing that, of course, is going to definitely cause Sultan to respond with, you know, he's got lots of options. Capture, capture, capture. Well, that last one's not so great, but could also just capture, like, up. And now, D6, he's given himself the option to capture over that way. So, slightly sneaky. Also, D6 kind of, I would say, pseudo pins some of these pieces. It's just one more thing that you're going to have to keep in the back of your mind. You don't want to suddenly decide to just vacate this whole, the D rank, or sorry, D file, that's the file, the D file, without very, very consciously realizing you're doing it. It's the kind of thing that later can come back to bite you. All right, B6 from Jooms. He is building up to take out these three, from what I can tell. Oh, both players come down into the 5-minute range. Just over 20 moves now. Oh, and Sultan bringing the wall in on b4. So this is the point really where Jooms will want to bring his capstone into play to kind of, just really use the power of that. He's got a very nicely centrally positioned capstone. And honestly, like the central squares on the board, because of this wall he's built, I almost feel like those aren't the center. The center of the board is kind of moved over here. That this whole section of the board is very taken out of play at the moment. E6 from Jooms? Okay, he's setting up a connection through here, making for the cap throw up onto this wall of his own. That is something to kind of watch for if he does, like, say, the c6 down capture. Actually, flattening his own wall is another great way, if he can make a threat doing that. That's a pretty great way to get himself a hard cap going on there. C1 from Sultan. He's just continuing to build an attack, I think, against this lower half of the road threat. B1 from Jooms, kind of reinforcing. C2 is a little bit of a weak point at the moment. And it's not weak in that Jooms has enough pieces to recapture, even if Sultan decides to commit both these bordering pieces to it. But doing so will leave a lot of will be able to leave the whole area around it empty. E1 from Sultan. Maybe just trying to make sure he's got stuff along the bottom edge here. I don't know if he's going to be able to build a horizontal threat out of that. With there's the old citadel, in that corner, and E2 from Jooms. It's almost like the players have decided to go for a flat ending. They're just laying flat after flat. Let's do a quick look here. So it looks like as there's one piece left over here, one piece left here for Jooms. So both players equal. 19 stones played out onto the board. But count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 for Sultan. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for Jooms. So flat count does currently favor Sultan. B4 to the right. Oh, it's the wall here from Sultan. So he jumped his wall up onto the C4 square. Pretty safe play. Really got rid of a lot of this vertical momentum just with that one move. So now does Jooms want to dump his capstone over here? He could do that, make his capstone a hard cap. No, instead he's going with E3. I'm not sure I'm seeing any kind of way to finish off this horizontal road. All right, Sultan's getting low on time. He went with A3, kind of in keeping with the idea of just attacking the stones down here on the second rank. That also does start to work towards a horizontal connection for Sultan. It's a ways off. Okay, I was going to point out that these two horizontal road pieces are in the works, but now Jooms has played E2 to the left. So this is a tack threat. The road would go across here, and then he can spread this stack to cover these two squares. That would complete that road. All right, Sultan responds, D1 upward. I don't see any reason not to just bring the capstone down, other than I guess it kind of brings the capstone out of the central area. Okay, no, instead he goes with C2 to the right. That works as well, but I think that is more prone to having a wall happen. And there it is, just as I erased the mark. I could have just left it there. Now, does he want to spread this stack out? I mean, doesn't look like a bad idea. I also feel like that would put Jooms ahead on flats if he spread these all out. Instead, he goes with D1. I am not sure what the utility of that one is. Maybe Jooms is just assuming that Sultan capturing the stack with his wall is pretty pointless, because Jooms can always just flatten with his capstone. Looks like we're about to find out, and that is what he planned. So Sultan takes his wall up there, Jooms immediately capstone down, flattening. This is not a tack threat, and Sultan brings in another wall. Now, Jooms has some fairly good positioning with this stack. Certainly could be better. He could be thinking about running all the way up to D5 or D4 even. Or he could go horizontally. All right, for now we're playing it safe, E2. Players should watch out. There are only 3 empty squares left. Let's do a quick flat count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Still 14 for Sultan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Still 12 for Jooms. And Sultan was on B4. I think he is looking for some flat activity. Players just ticking down to under 3 minutes each. Sultan at 2:54. Jooms now just passing that same mark, 2:54. Jooms does have this vertical threat he can work on. Possibly using that capstone. It might be worthwhile to spread this upward. And really, oh, okay. That's D1 to the right. I'm not sure about that one. The problem is this wall here on E4, the capstone's not lined up on it. So it's a pretty easy threat to notice, but it's not currently a threat, actually. Oh, and Karan in chat, what do you got here? D1. All right, Sultan's just laying flats. Let's adjust this board a little bit because we are coming to the point where things like reserves might matter. So white's got 6 left. Black has 8. Flat count, I think we're probably close to where we were. White probably is leading by about 2. We can do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, so 12. So it's a lead of 3 flats to white, but it is Jooms' turn, so he could equal the 1 flat gain and can bring that back to a 2 flat difference. Jooms getting very low on time. All right, interesting, interesting. A whole bunch of them from D2 jumping down. And let's get a little bit of a perspective. Can't get too much or we lose the square that's behind the stack. There we go. Okay. So time is definitely becoming a factor. Jooms now down at 113, Sultan at 140. So that is an interesting move from Jooms here, that jump downward. I'm not certain what he is doing there, perhaps other than trying to make advantageous moves for flat count. There now are just 2 empty squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 for Jooms. Yes, I believe with that laying that flat here on A4, I believe that Sultan is still leading. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So yeah, Jooms cannot fill that square, and he really does have to empty another square this turn to prevent Sultan from just taking the flat win. Okay, I am not sure if that does it. Huh. So Jooms jumps his capstone off of here. I mean, where we're at right now, let me do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It was tied. Sultan could have laid a flat there and won, I believe. But instead, Sultan, he jumps his wall over. I'm curious. Time very low. Jooms down at 20 seconds. All right, he moves. He is fine. He did 5 from D1. Oh, so he spread across horizontally. So this is a threat. Just lay one on D1 and Jooms will win. Might see a wall. Yep. Might see Jooms crush that, despite the fact he'll leave these 2 captives behind. Now we've got a couple of empty squares, so we know he's got a little time. Or rather, not time like clock time. He has no time. But he's got a few tempo. All right. And he lays at C2. Makes sense. So Sultan's turn. He is now down under a minute. Just 4 pieces left for Sultan. And Sultan uses that tempo to bring his wall up onto E1. Jooms without hesitation. All right. That was a very rapid end there. So without hesitation, Jooms spread his capstone up onto the stack. However, that filled in all but 1 square. Just, I believe it was that A6, yeah. So Sultan, knowing the flat count, was just able to simply place there, especially given the way that Jooms had to spread these 2 pieces out through the flats kind of back into Sultan's favor. So very good game from our players. First game of the match. So Sultan does take that one, and I think we'll give the players a short break. I'm gonna go ahead and total up just the tiebreaker points, make sure we have that recorded in case that comes into play. So yeah, we'll go to a brief intermission here, and we will be back shortly. All right, folks, it looks like the players are ready for game 2 already. So we will just jump straight into that. So we've got Jooms playing as white this game, SultanPepper playing as black. And all right, where we are off. We are off. Adjacent corner starting, and as is the usual these days. And then playing into the center. Let's see, are we going to see the kind of standard opening? We do see a center split. And Sultan playing a little bit more standard, it looks like. Staying in line with that. And then Jooms playing his capstone into the usual position. Now here's Sultan going for a little bit more, switching from the horizontal to the vertical. Oh, and Jooms playing backward onto his edge. And I feel like that is a little bit of a passive position there. Just the way he kind of like followed back on his own pieces allowed Sultan to get this straight line of 3 pieces vertically here already. It's not a huge difference, but it could make just that tiny difference at the beginning of the game, tempo-wise. So now I would think Jooms he's okay. A4. I was thinking he wanted to start working towards a connection to one of the sides here. I was thinking of A3. A4 works just as well, of course, and it's just kind of loading into this corner more. Also, I liked A3 for the fact that you were only one square from connecting on A2 here. All right, so there Jooms brings his capstone in, exact opposite of Sultan's. So we've got just opposing capstones with that center split going. Upper left corner is where the action has been. This is looking like a pretty strong horizontal build from Jooms. Sultan also has the opportunity there. If he captures down, he's got a threat started. Okay, so Sultan's taking that A3 position. Might see Jooms playing... Okay, they're playing much quicker this game. Players are not taking their time as much. E3 or E5, both were looking like possible horizontal connections. E5 is helpful or useful in that it's farther from Black's capstone. It is a tempo off from completing the threat, though. Also, keep in mind that, of course, Sultan has plenty of black pieces that are kind of in bordering to where this threat might materialize. And Sultan... wow, that is the first capture of the game, brings his capstone up. Jooms plays on F5, making this horizontal threat. Threatening to capture down, C6 down. All right, Sultan C5 to the left. Pretty good. That's good. That's fine. Would not be surprised to see Jooms just take that back, place a flat there. All right, he does it after some additional thought. Beginning to wonder about getting a wall somewhere into the corner here. So Sultan's move, he might just... Yeah, I think he could get away. He could do F4, I think. It's not an immediate attack threat, but then he's got other moves, A5 down, A3 up, that I think could make for some interesting problems. The only other problem, of course, is though that Jooms' capstone is right here, so he could just hop down and shut that down. But if all of that were played for just the purpose of messing with White's connection to this left edge, that could be really helpful. And played right, I think Sultan could use it to get a connection or a road threat started vertically along this edge. That would work well, I think, for him, given the positioning of Jooms' capstone. The capstone could potentially come down to here, but that would still have to leave some pieces behind in order to really get into action if he played on the A and B file. Am I saying Jooms for black? I apologize. Jooms is playing white this game. All right, B2 from Sultan. And now at this point, what should Jooms be doing? It's tempting to want to mess with the capture sequences over in this corner, but it doesn't necessarily gain him a whole lot. All right, that's good. I like that. A2, that's fine. Kind of basically playing where Sultan plays. Just for the time being. So here's Sultan. He has the opportunity. He can make a threat. He could place here. His threat would be capturing, or he could capture. The threat would be to place. Or he could just play something like, say, B1, or even C2. Sultan's using a lot more time this game so far, which I don't think that's out of the ordinary. Playing as black, you want to be a little more cautious. You certainly don't want to make a mistake early on and lose the game. Let's get a look at these reserve counts real quick, because I am seeing... All right, and yes, it looks like Sultan did end up playing on C2. Basic reinforcement of this connection to the bottom, which doesn't quite exist yet, but that is something he wants. All right, so reserve counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it looks like I've got 8 in that stack, so that means 12 stones out for Jooms, and it looks like just 10 out for Sultan. Oh, all right. So Jooms capturing D3 up. Tack threat there, capturing down or capturing over. Could see C4 left. Okay, A5 down. That works fine. He breaks up his super strong corner citadel there. That might actually be a decent place for kind of an offensive wall from Jooms. He'd be threatening kind of both of these stacks with the white captives within them, and have that wall available to stop this beginning of vertical build that Sultan's been working on. Been kind of hoping that somebody was going to, like perhaps Jooms in this case, jump his capstone onto one of his own pieces, get that hard cap going that it can be so difficult to deal with if you're not careful. But A5 instead, just a flat stone. He opted not for the wall. Actually, looking, both of these, the A4 and B5 stacks, the capture sequence around them it was a winning situation for Jooms. He had outnumbered the stones of Sultan's. All right, and now we get the wall, which, yeah, I would have to consider that to be an offensive wall. Well, it's a combo, because this threat is being built now, this vertical connection. Sultan could play, his B1 or C1 just to make that threat official, but it's very close to already being there. So Sultan might want to try switching things up really quickly, kind of almost preemptively, and do something like D2, start working on a lower half of the board horizontal threat. Might run into a little bit of a problem tempo-wise, though, because this wall capturing onto b4 would be attack threat, spreading up across here to get the wall out of the way and completing just a simple horizontal road. Oh, instead, brings his capstone onto b3, making a vertical attack threat. Absolute straight line. All right. Pretty simple response, because that makes a lot of sense, bringing that wall onto there. And now Sultan has to respond to this tack threat. He could say like a6 down. That would hold it off to start. Nope, he decides to let these captives free. Now, what will Jooms do there? What will he use those for? All right, yes, he spread. All right, straight down, spread them down. This capstone has the reach. It can spread 2 squares, maintaining control. It would leave this one empty, though, and I think that would be a great spot for Jooms to bring that wall back in. Okay, Sultan doesn't even go for it. Just places a flat on c3. He will probably want to have a flat on c1. Both players doing much better on time. Jooms still up with his basically the initial 10 minutes. Sultan's down to about 7. So keeping this, I think Sultan he wants to keep this capstone up here. He doesn't want to throw that down like I was initially thinking until it wins him the game. He wants that capstone to be kept near where this horizontal threat is. And Jooms brings his capstone over to the left, creating that hard cap. So I can only presume he wants to bring that capstone onto b5 to use that to make the threat, and basically the capstone stops the other capstone. That does get there in time. Sultan could commit his capstone, bringing it up. But I think just forcing that move would be enough of a tempo break to allow Jooms to attack and stop this bottom area of the of the road. All right, suggestion here from Enkaron in chat, standing on d5. Yeah, Sultan could certainly reply with a wall on d5. Yeah, that's pretty simple response. I think Jooms might want to just play some flats. d6, maybe e6. More likely d6. He could jump his whole hard cap up onto b5. That would allow for another wall, which would be about what was needed to stop this, though. Instead, he opts for c4. And b3 from Sultan. That is attack threat. So here we might see the capstone jump. Yep, from Jooms. This is not quite attack threat from Jooms, but now this wall is pinned. It can only move left or right. If it moves down onto this stack, for example, Jooms fills in and he gets a road. Sultan definitely keeping an eye on that. Plays f4, just being ready to capture onto this road with multiple pieces. Jooms could make attack threat with something like e3. However, Sultan would probably respond to that with e4 to the left. Actually, looking at the two, there's also some potential here for vertical building from Jooms. So something, yeah, like d3. That might be just interesting enough. And it's also helping split up these two pieces that Sultan's got building. Oh. Well spotted there in chat, Lieutenant Hammer. I missed that one. Let's rewind that real quick. So that, not that move, this move here, this piece here, this was a attack threat that I also missed. I was worried about splitting up these two halves, but there's the black piece in this stack and the capstone, so he can cover both of these. And with those two halves there, that was the end of it. So game 2 goes to SultanPepper. So that is yet another 2-0 match for Sultan. So Jooms, unfortunately, Jooms is now eliminated from the tournament. Let me go ahead and do a quick update on the bracket, and then we will be ready to move on, and we just have to get our next match scheduled here. So Sultan took both of those. And update. All right, so let's take a look at the updated bracket. Bring that up on your screen. Okay, so down here, so we have SultanPepper beating out Jooms. So Sultan will now be going up against Arch Venison. We will have to get those players, figure out when they can schedule that as soon as possible. We've just got 3 matches remaining here. Sultan and Arch Venison, the winner of that game versus Fwibib, and the winner of that game versus No Hat Coder in the grand final. basically after our next match, SultanPepper and Arch Venison, this is the prize match at this point. The winner of that next match, they are in the top 3. It will be No Hat Coder, Fwibib, and whoever wins this match in the top 3. So this should be a very exciting match. SultanPepper, Arch Venison, both excellent players. And I can't wait to see the match. It's going to be exciting here. We're getting down to the very end, and we'll be crowning our new champion in not too much longer. But thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Appreciate it. If you're interested in learning about TAC or the US TAC Association, you can find us at ustac.org. And we will have updates available there, and you can see the standings from the entire 2018 season on the website as well. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next match.